I'm not a lawyer, but I read all 58 pages of the lawsuit filed by Don Richard against Sean Combs, aka Diddy, so let me give you a recap. So this is a civil lawsuit, which means she is suing for money. Civil lawsuits are filed by people and they are for money. Criminal cases are filed by district attorneys, prosecutors, the state, whatever you want to call them. So for this civil case, Don is the plaintiff and Sean Combs, Harv Pierre, and a whole bunch of Diddy's companies, plus Universal Music Group and Interscope Records are all the defendants. Now, early in the doc, it says that Diddy was a once celebrated hip-hop mogul who once explained the origins of his stage name in a US Today interview. He said he was given his nickname, Puff, because he had a temper and was known to huff and puff when he was angry. Did y'all know that? I don't feel like I knew that. Further down in the factual allegation section of the lawsuit, it goes into the details for the basis of this suit. It describes Don Richard being selected for making the band in 2004 and then ultimately being named as a member of the group Danity Kane. Don alleges that for Danity Kane's first album, she is owed an estimated $1 million for unpaid salaries. She says for Danity Kane's second album, she is owed an estimated $500,000 for unpaid salaries. And then for touring, she says she is owed an estimated $1.8 million. The document notes that Diddy fired Aubrey O'Day and D Woods on live television at the height of its fame in 2008.
I don't like her energy. I don't like her style and direction where she's going with it. I don't like what she does to the brand when she's wilding out there, being overly raunchy, promiscuous.
I'm not meaning.
So I don't want you in the group no more. And anybody else that want to go with her could go with her. Based on a lot of things that I've heard, you're not really a happy camper in this situation.
No, I don't think anyone has been happy for a long time in this situation.
Okay, so you could go too.
Which resulted in Danity Kane being disbanded in 2009. Back to making the band, the lawsuit says that during that filming, Diddy spoke to the female contestants in a hostile, condescending manner, calling them names such as fat, ugly, the B word, and hoes. Specifically, the lawsuit says that Diddy told Don she was too skinny and needed to do something about this. There's also an incident from 2005 highlighted where the docs allege that Kim Porter left Diddy's studio in tears with visible face injuries, including a lacerated lip. There's allegations of Danity Kane's extreme work conditions noted, saying that they were denied adequate food and sleep. And because Diddy would allegedly be high on drugs, he would be awake for extended periods of time and force them to record and rehearse for stretches of 36 to 48 hours without breaks. Don alleges that these conditions and requirements became so frequent that she eventually started falling asleep in a sitting position, fully dressed and with makeup on. So if she was woken up, she'd be ready to go. And all of this contributed to and heightened her anxiety. There's also mention of Diddy holding meetings in his underwear. And when asked to put clothes on, the docs say he would refuse and say that, quote, "This is my effing house." There are some incidents involving Cassie and Diddy that are also detailed in this document, alleging in one particular one, when Dawn and her bandmate from Dirty Money, Kalina, went to Diddy's house one morning, Cassie was in the kitchen frying eggs when Diddy allegedly came downstairs, quote, looking high on drugs, approached Cassie and screamed, "I've been asking you for my ish. I can't stand you, B. You never do it right." He then allegedly pushed Cassie against the wall, choked her, and drug her up the stairs. The docs say although Dawn wanted to step in, she was physically led out of the residence by her bandmate, and then she returned to her hotel room. The following day, the docs say that Dawn received a call demanding she return back to the house, and upon doing so, she was led to the recording room. The lights were dim, the door was locked, and she was given a flower, and eventually told by Diddy that, quote, "This is normal. This was just a lover's argument where no one was hurt. This is what love is. I'm giving you an opportunity. If you want to make it, you'll shut your mouth. If you say anything, there will be consequences." And then further warning that, quote, "People end up missing." The docs say that when Dawn and her bandmate would try to encourage Cassie to leave Diddy, somehow he would find out and told them, quote, "Y'all bees don't get in my relationship. Don't tell my bee what she needs to be doing. Just make money and shut up." As well as, "I an artist, I shelve careers, you could be missing, and you bees want to die today," among other things. The doc mentions parties with copious amounts of illegal activities, men and women who appear to be underage, and different acts being performed at these parties. It says that people are required to give up their phones, doors are kept locked and guarded by security, and sometimes even police officers are in attendance, which sends a message that Diddy's influence and his connections extend to even law enforcement officers, so reporting him to authorities would be unacceptable and pointless. There's a specific dinner from 2009 or early 2010 that's also described in these documents, where it says celebrity guests such as Neo, Usher, and Mr. Jimmy Iovine, the then CEO of Interscope, all attended this party. And in front of all of these guests and more, Diddy allegedly punched Cassie in her stomach, causing her to double over in pain and cry. She was escorted out while Diddy continued to socialize with the guests. And despite Interscope execs witnessing this themselves, the docs say that they continued their deal with Bad Boy, paying out $50 million in exchange for a future Bad Boy release distributed through Interscope. There's mention of Diddy allegedly throwing objects like albums, laptops, and food against the wall or at individuals during recording sessions, making Dawn fear that if she angered Diddy, all of that could be directed at her and could cause her serious harm. For Dawn's work on Dirty Money, she alleges she is owed $1.2 million in unpaid wages and royalties and $350,000 for touring. In regards to SA, there's allegations of Diddy constantly entering Dawn's dressing room, groping her chest and butt with no legitimate purpose and without consent. It says that Diddy caressed her butt to show the stylist where he wanted her high-waisted undergarments for her performance to be positioned, and attempted to touch her chest, claiming to show the stylist where he wanted her bra straps to go. And then it alleges that in 2010, Diddy told Dawn he wanted to gift her some enhancements for Christmas, and then he cupped her chest, saying that she's currently an A and he thinks she should go to a D. There's another 2010 incident in which, while at a studio, Diddy allegedly raised his hand and swung towards Dawn's face. A bodyguard grabbed her, escorted her and her bandmate out of the studio, and put them in the Bad Boy Records Bentley and locked the doors. Inside the vehicle, there was no door handles and no way to escape. Dawn used her bandmate's cell phone to call her dad, but eventually the bandmate was taken out of the car and Dawn was left in there alone for 2 hours. The docs say she screamed as loud as she could, but no one responded. It was late evening in the wintertime, the windows were heavily tinted, and the interior of the car was dark except for faint interior lights. All of her items were inside of the studio still. Her dad did eventually come to the studio, but the docs say that that interaction also resulted in more fear of Diddy because he allegedly told her father to, quote, think about your family and your daughter's career. And then the following day, Diddy allegedly called Dawn and said, quote, you don't call your dad unless you're in the hospital. So all of that and more is the basis for her lawsuit and her 21 causes of action, which include violation of the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Act, which you probably know a lot of the SA lawsuits from last year were also filed under this act, and the act was extended to March 2025, so more lawsuits can continue to be filed under this act. The other causes of action include SA, trafficking, false imprisonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, hostile work environment, fraud, and intentional misrepresentation. She is asking for a jury trial, and as of now, there has been no response from Diddy's team.